Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your man, Ant Walker here for Sherdog.com. You are watching episode 5 of The Trenches, our live chat program. Happy you can join us. And I'm always happy to be joined by the man himself, Mr. Credential, Mr. Bellator.
My credential brother. You credential
Oh,
brother too.
Jason Burgos, everybody. Jason Burgos. Give a round of applause for Jason Burgos, man. Doing the damn thing this weekend at Bellator. What's up, my brother?
I'm good, man. I had a ton of fun. I mean, and had some fun diversifying, getting some doing some picture work and some photography journalism, which is pretty fun to do.
Yeah, so you were doing mostly photos. I know you're such an interview guy too. Did you get any like media day interviews, anything of the sort?
No, because I mean, like a lot of us have a regular 9 to 5 job. So I took off the day of 207, drove up to Connecticut that day, and then had to drive back to New York and go to 208. So I didn't get to do any interviews or anything like that. But I was at the post fight. I got to ask questions more at the 208 post fight and mainly take pictures. So mostly, yeah, I was just live tweeting during the event and taking pictures primarily for Sherdog, which is I love doing. It's super fun.
Man, the struggle of having a regular job and then doing this sort of work, man. So for 229, I had to take some days off and work. I just turned in my time sheet, and that check is going to be light. That check is going to be light. So you know what I'm about to say next, right? You know what I'm gonna say something to Crave. Crave, cut the check. Cut the check, Crave. I'm still using my man's microphone. Cut the check, Crave. We need this paper. Okay? We're trying to get paid. We're trying to do this job right. Cut the check, Crave. All right. So now that my little rant is over with, I had a little credential work as well. I was at PFL in Long Beach. So that was definitely a good time there. To be so close to a lot of the action, met a lot of good people, some good stuff there, man. It was really cool, but I do think we can get into some questions right off bat. Just before we get into some of the more deep discussions, because I definitely want to touch Eddie Alvarez and one championship, but we're gonna start with question 1 here. So this question is from Final Conflict. 2005. What do you think of the Fedor versus Chael fight? Fedor's throws and vicious stand-up look like his old self. So I'm gonna let Mr. Bellator himself go ahead and jump on this one first.
I mean, I have to say, man, I'd say I've been to about 6 or 7 of these events in person, mostly Bellator. That was the first time I felt electricity in an arena. Because I mean, the Nassau Coliseum crowd was great most of the night, even though it wasn't a sellout. They were still very loud. But then when Chael and Fedor came out, it was like you could feel electricity. That's the first time I've gotten goosebumps at a live event for anything. And the last time was a WWE event 15 years ago. I had goosebumps for something. It was great because, as a fan, I've been a fan of Fedor. I got into MMA right as Pride was dying, so I had to watch Fedor after the fact and a lot of the stuff since then. So to see Fedor in person was sick. It was just surreal. And to see, Conflict just said, a good Fedor. He really looked really good. I mean, it might have been the right kind of matchup, and a different matchup is different, but he looked good. I mean, his throws, his ability to stuff Chael's takedowns, which is impressive because he stuffed stuff Rampage couldn't do. He stuffed stuff some other pretty good fighters couldn't do. So he really did look good. He looked fast, and that was the fascinating thing because Chael and the hyping to the thing was saying, is he heavyweight fast or is he regular fast? Well, Chael found out real quick he's regular fast. And it was just so fun to watch, so much electricity. I enjoyed it so much, and I'll never forget it. And it's fascinating. I still think Fedor is going to win the whole thing. I think Bader can win that fight any way he wants in the final, but it was great to see a small shine, a glimpse of prime Fedor once again. It was exhilarating.
Yeah, man, that had to have been something. And I will say I am happy that Fedor won just so I can be live for a Fedor fight since the finals will be in Los Angeles at the Forum. So looking forward to seeing Fedor actually fight for an actual belt. I mean, that's Fedor in the title fight. We haven't seen that since Strikeforce. So, hey, I'll take it. As far as my thoughts on the fight, it kind of played out the way I thought it would. I mean, Chael Sonnen, he's game appointed as it gets. I mean, the guy is tough as nails. He is afraid of literally no one. You look at his list of past opponents, and that's probably the best list of opponents in MMA history.
Yep.
So much respect to Chael Sonnen and what he's been able to do. However, one thing that you don't expect from him is the way the smaller guy can beat the bigger guy in a lot of ways. Like, you're not like out wrestling Fedor. Good luck. You know, that's not, doesn't seem like a very easy task. And Chael Sonnen was never a power puncher. He was never a guy known as a knockout artist. So I wouldn't expect him to, land even a Hail Mary shot on Fedor and put him out, even with Fedor having a diminished chin in the last several years. So I don't see how it could have turned out any other way. But I think one thing that is notable as far as what happened in the actual matchup, Chael Sonnen is the king of those fight IQ things that just make you shrug your shoulders. Like,
he brought it up in the post fight too.
Yeah, I mean that. So when he tried to do what it looked to me like he was attempting a Darce choke, but I'm also hearing that he was doing sort of like a sweep to get Fedor on his back or something like that.
Yeah, it's like a wrestling roll, and I've seen some people do it in like MMA fights before. He was gonna roll, and his momentum, I think, was trying to bring both of them like in a sitting position, and he'd have his back and I guess go for a takedown. And in the post fight, he said he's done it before a lot, often in wrestling in his youth and stuff like that, and it's worked. And he said that was the first time it didn't work. Bad time for it not to work, and it worked out real bad for him.
Yeah, that was definitely one of those big blunders as far as technical things go. I mean, that was very reminiscent of him trying that spinning back fist on Anderson Silva in the rematch, which led to the finishing sequence. And it was really unfortunate for him that it came at that one moment where it looked like, okay, he's figuring out what to do, and he found some moment of success. I mean, it started off with him getting cracked in the first like 5 seconds, and he got floored. Credit to him for living through that, because that looked like a hellacious shot. So the fact that he's still among the living is a very, very big accomplishment. But to go from that and those couple near scares of getting hit some more to actually getting a couple of takedowns and securing a good position, and to see him sacrifice that on I no pun intended, but like a sacrifice throw that goes awry is really, it's unfortunate for him. And like Chael Sonnen's career is almost like a big collection of what ifs. What if he didn't do this? What if he didn't do that? What if, starting even from the Paulo Filo rematch where Filo didn't make weight, and what if he actually won a legitimate title? What if this? So I mean, I give Chael all the credit in the world for stepping in there, but I don't see how it could have gone any other way. I mean,
there's something I'll bring. It was interesting, and I noticed it during the fight, and like watching the fight, and I'm sure the game plan for Chael was push. He's still a heavyweight. Chael has great cardio, and you can see it as the fight started going on. And they mentioned it during the broadcast. Fedor started breathing heavy, so I'm curious if it would have got to a second round, because he did get the takedown in the first round on him. Eventually he still got stopped and he got swept, and that's just how amazing Fedor is, and that's why he's amazing. But he was getting tired. He was starting to breathe heavy. So I'm fascinated how it would have went in another round. But he like you brought it up, and I brought it up to him in the post fight, which is and those are those surreal moments as like a writer, but as a fan, like I'm asking Chael Sonnen a question. It was just crazy. But I asked him. I said, you fought Anderson Silva, John Jones, and now Fedor, what are your thoughts on having fought all these guys, these legends, and all those kind of thing? And it was interesting because MMA Junkie even made an article off of his answer, and he was saying that he never really thought about it before, and he should appreciate it more than he does. He's never thought about having to fight all these legends. And then he brought up, he said, also, I fought George St. Pierre in a basement.
I heard that one. Yeah.
And luckily, a writer in front of me, I think it was Mike Bond, he asked, well, who was the best? And he said quickly, GSP. So that was pretty interesting. But his career, his resume is fantastic, but he's going to go down as anytime he had a big fight, he lost. That he really rarely ever won his big fights. Like the Vanderlei was a big fight, but that wasn't a prime Vanderlei. Right. He lost the fights with Anderson. We all know he probably should have won the first one. That Paulo Filo you brought up is a great example too. Like every time he had a big one, he lost. Like he beat Bisping, which was a big one too, but every time that'll be how he's remembered. Great talker, great resume, but just couldn't win the big one.
You know what? I'll give him credit for one big win And I think this was a big win more so because of its placement as far as being a main event. And I want to say it was the first FS1 card was the main event against Shogun. Was that the first FS1
I'm
where
not
he
sure.
submitted Shogun?
I forgot about that. Yeah, that's true. That's a big one. Yeah, because still
Yeah,
Shogun was still good.
and that's the one time that he stepped up on the big stage and got that
Yeah.
fantastic win. They got and got a finish on top of that. Chael was never known as a finisher, so that's pretty dope, man. Chael Sonnen has had a fantastic career. I actually had a question about this for last week's Ask Ant column. And when I looked at that resume, I couldn't deny it, man. And the guys that he did lose to, I mean, there's no shame in losing to Rashad Evans or Forrest Griffin, or Babalu. Like he's lost against some of the best that MMA has ever seen.
Yeah.
And he's snuck a couple of wins in there too. So much credit to Chael Sonnen, man. So maybe the strange thing is his undefeated record is still intact.
yeah.
All right. So keeping in the Bellator 208 realm, and I guess this ties into 207 as well. So question number 2 is, can Fedor turn back time again and win the Bellator heavyweight tournament, or is Bader going to be the first Bellator champ?
Yeah. I mean, I can't see it. Like, and especially I was there for 207. I got to, and it annoyed me. The fans were booing Bader's performance against Mitrione. Like, Mitrione outweighed him by 30 pounds. Like, I know Mitrione's weakness is his wrestling, but it's still extremely impressive because even when he was able to get back to his feet, Bader took him down immediately. I mean, like, to ragdoll a man that much bigger, his wrestling was impressive. I mean, he's arguably maybe the best wrestler in the company, one of the better ones at least. And he's a big man. I remember when they announced him for the tournament, I was like, he was my favorite right away because I knew he was big for 205. So not having to cut at all, even though in the post fight he says it's not a problem for him to cut weight. I just thought he's in his prime. He's the hottest he's ever been in his career. He's got the right mix of still really, prime years with experience. And I think he can just win that fight whatever way he wants. That's not to say Fedor couldn't when he could, because he still got the power. So he can catch Bader. If it goes to the ground, we saw what he did with Chael. He can sweep him. He's got great submissions. He's got abilities to win, but I just feel like if it got into a grinding fight, Bader's going to have the better cardio. And also, Bader's got pop in his hands. And unlike Chael, he can put Fedor down. And Fedor is willing to take chances to throw shots. He takes shots. And, I mean, pretty much almost every fight for his last 5 or 6 fights, he's gotten rocked other than Chael fights. So his chin is so compromised now. I mean, Bader can knock him out. I wouldn't be surprised if that happened either. So I would love to see him win. What a great story would be. Either way, Bellator has the best possible main final they could have imagined, hope for, but I just don't see it. I'd be stunned if he beat Bader. Stunned.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I mean, Bader is the younger, fresher guy. We saw what he was able to do against a definite, legitimate heavyweight.
Yeah.
Matt Mitrione is a massive human being.
Yeah.
And Bader put him down at will and controlled him in every way, shape, and form, to the point where he was lucky that one judge saw one round as a 10-9.
Yeah.
Like that was the best case scenario for Matt Mitrione in that fight. And keep in mind, Matt Mitrione is not just your average, just heavyweight. I mean, this is a guy who was in the NFL. This is an elite level athlete that Bader just treated like a stepchild, man. Tossed him around like he was nothing. Now, granted, Bader has had his slip ups in the big moments. I mean, I think about the Tito Ortiz fight, being one of those times where he should have won but didn't. Yeah. Maybe that happens again. But either way, Bellator has something to celebrate. So on one hand, you have a guy in Fedor who is considered by many to be the greatest mixed martial artist of all time, winning another legitimate title belt. And now he's back to this certain level of stardom and prestige. And you can put all the tent poles you want anytime Fedor walks through the door. Yeah. And we can ride on that wave, or Bader wins and you're introducing the newer generation, the first double champ, and also a guy who, granted, he did lose to Rumble, but he's a guy who wasn't discredited in his UFC run at all.
Yeah.
He's a guy who legitimately deserved a title shot.
Yeah.
And when he lost to Rumble Johnson, I believe he was on like a 3-fight win streak at that point, and had the little back and forth with Daniel Cormier at the press conference. He should have gotten a title shot.
Yeah.
Off of those stats and off of that little conflict, since conflict is how we promote fights. You know, that should have been a thing, but unfortunately for him, it wasn't. You know, he's found greener pastures in Bellator. He's getting the sponsorship money. He's getting his time to do what he does without, I guess, some of the red tape associated with the UFC, just because they have so many people and so many. It's kind of like a logjam of talent.
Yeah.
You know, so Bader was kind of my pick to win the whole thing when they announced everybody in the first place, but especially when they showed the brackets, how they were placed.
Yeah.
Bader versus Fedor.
That's the hashtag for the final. Bader
and Fedor, and I'm just gonna mess that up all up until late January. So it's the first of many. but you know, those two were the best combination, the way they laid the brackets out. And speaking of those brackets, I was very surprised. I thought when they said that Chael Sonnen was going to be in this tournament, I thought they would have tried to pave the way for him to meet Fedor in the finals.
Yeah.
Because you'd have the all-time great, you know, shit talker with an all-time great fighter.
But you know why they didn't do that? And that's what's great about it is Coker totally learned from his missteps with the Strikeforce Grand Prix, because I think we all kind of figured Fedor was going to win, and you could see the same kind of thing. And Fedor lost in the first round, you know. So he instead of doing that, he's just going to let it play out, and it worked out in ways because Daniel Cormier got in as an alternate and he became a star. But you know, and you can see it in the welterweight Grand Prix. I mean, it seems like this time around he's thinking, I'm going to put the matchups that could be main events and just let it play out. Like Chael and Rampage was a great main event. Frank Mir versus Fedor was a great main event. You have these great main events, and then it plays out, and it's worked out great. Same thing with the welterweight. You got the trilogy of Lima and Kirchhoff in the first round, main event. Daly, Page, main event. You know, they could have went Page and like Ruth, you know, two young guys maybe, or worked it out so maybe Daly and Page fought in like semis, but no, they're giving like great fights right away. So I think that's why they didn't do that. You know, they don't want to take the chance of it not happening, just like the Strikeforce didn't work out for them.
Yeah, I like that idea too, that you have these big matchups earlier in the tournament, so that way more eyeballs are on the tournament itself, and that way some of those lesser known guys, some of those guys who don't carry the same name value, they get past certain fighters, they do what they do, or if they happen to meet one of these big name fighters at a later stage, it's more eyeballs on it, and it seems more legitimate. And let's give credit to PFL as well, because PFL has done a fantastic job the way they've matched up their guys, the way they laid out their brackets, to where it wasn't about who had the biggest name coming in. It's just, okay, we just throw these guys together. However they match up is how they match up. And then we're going to have certain guys in the finals, because, you know, I would have laughed if you told me anything other than Will Brooks being in the lightweight finals.
Yep.
You know, and you would think a guy who was the Bellator champion coming off of his UFC run, albeit not the most successful of UFC runs, but he is the guy in that division that had the most name value. And you would think, okay, maybe they'll, you know, pave the way for him to get a spot, but unfortunately it just didn't work that way. And we're left with a legitimately great tournament with some great fights. And by the way, that semifinal in Long Beach was the truth between Schultz and Chris Wade. Good Lord have mercy, man. That was a
what did you think of that fight? Like, we've all seen the controversy with Wade's opinion on it, and the crowd in the arena were booing. I watched it after the fact the next day. You were there. I mean, I'm sure could be affected by the crowd like anybody can. Who did you think won at the end of that?
I think the decision was correct. I thought Schultz was the winner, because in the striking
together, because we the other minds are linked already.
Oh man, I'm telling you, man, you're just a smart man. You're just a smart man. That's all. I'm trying to be smart like you when I grow up.
It takes smart to know smart. You know what I'm saying?
Man, because it was crazy, because they were having such a nasty brawl, just going back and forth and just wailing away on one another. But at the right moments, Schultz going to pull that takedown out.
Yeah,
and that was kind of the difference. I thought the striking was a wash. The striking was was pretty even. And it's just, do you value punches to the face or body kicks more? Just those things that really kind of at the end of the day, you getting your ass kicked. So it's kind of hard to quantify who's getting their ass kicked worse. But then you throw the takedown in, and then he had brief moments of control in the clinch against the fence, whatever. I thought that's what edged it out. And really the crowd in Long Beach. And I'm a former resident of Long Beach. I love Long Beach, California. It's a beautiful place. But man, I heard some of the dumbest things from the stands, and I when some of the things I heard from the stands, it was, oh man, it was god awful. Granted, I've heard
it wonderful, especially when the beer and alcohol really gets flowing. Like I heard someone in 207 call one fighter Charles Manson, and he didn't look like Charles Manson at all. I don't know why he said that, but he just threw it out there.
Man, so my favorite line of commentary from the audience at PFL was some guy who probably was about 6 Budweisers deep, who just randomly yells, "Fuck each other up." It's like,
well, I love that he's getting to the brass tacks of it. He really is bare bone, just fuck each other. I mean, it's simple, fair enough.
Hey, you want to see what you want to see, but damn, can you root for somebody? But so when the crowd was booing, and a part of it too was the politics game of it, because the crowd was booing when the non-American fighter won the very close decision, and that, so the USA chants. We're going through. I think that's a lot of it. What it was, and Chris Wade is a charismatic dude who he started off trash talking and kind of getting the crowd involved, and much credit to him for that. But however, that doesn't win the fight at the end of the day. Yeah. And Schultz, I think, is the rightful winner, despite some of the hateful messages I got on Twitter for saying this. So, so that's just kind of what it is, man. All right,
like the first round, he got the takedowns. Second round was kind of close, but you nailed it. It was kind of close. He got taken down again in the second round, and the third round was probably more weight. I mean, that's how they scored fights in America. They score takedowns high. If you get taken down, all your striking, if it's not clearly dominant to knocking guys down, it's just wiped away, and it got wiped away in a second.
And I'm not of the camp to say a takedown is going to be the deciding factor all the time. Yeah. But when the striking is a wash, when two guys are literally just hitting each other at will, and there's no clear cut, this guy's getting the better of the other guy. When you don't have that, and then one of those guys is able to take you down, the guy who's going to be able to take you down is going to win that decision. Like that's just not really that difficult to quantify in my brain, at least. So I mean, you take the crowd for what it's worth. It's the crowd. I mean, I don't really know what else to say. And somebody did ask me on Twitter while I was at the event, and I apologize if you're listening now. I cannot remember this gentleman's name, but he asked me, because I've been to a fair number of fights, like which crowd seem to be worse between the UFC and PFL and boxing matches or whatever else. I mean, they all suck.
Yeah, they all
they all suck. It's an equal level of stupidity at every level too. So I've been to my fair share of amateur fights, and and yeah, you just hear the same sort of stuff. The same guys who go to an amateur fight will go see the UFC.
And there's some smart fans, no doubt, because a lot of fans like us, now journalists and writers, we're fans, and there's smart fans, no doubt. But there's just a bonehead element in MMA sometimes that's mind-boggling. Like, how are there still people spelling Connor's name with 2 N's? That's like spelling LeBron with 2 B's. Like, no one was doing that in basketball. How you still got 2 N's for Connor? Like, this dude's the biggest fighter in the company. You still can't spell his name? Like, stupid-ass stuff like that. And then, like, I can go on for days. Just some of the dumb shit they say. It's mind-boggling. I mean, at least there's some smart ones out there that appreciate what we do, but there's some ones out there that are just there to see people bleed, and it's like, what's wrong with you? Get out of here.
Yeah, I mean, I like violent entertainment as much as the next man. Speaking of violent entertainment, I will try to stay awake till midnight to catch at least one episode of Daredevil season 3.
Yes.
Gotta get my nerd life going right here. You know how we do.
Bullseye, baby.
Oh, I can't wait. I'm excited. I'm excited. But while we're talking about PFL, I'm gonna kick this question to you to start off. If you could change one thing about the PFL tournament format, what would it be?
I was thinking about this. You know what's interesting? And as I was watching PFL 9, it feels like some of the fighters, because when I've interviewed fighters, I've asked them about this. The tiebreaker for the first fight in the quarterfinals is the first round. You know, if you win the first round, I feel like watching some of these fights, and maybe you notice it, when a guy knows he won the first, he definitely fights more careful in the second, and it really kills the action a little bit. So I kind of wish, in a way, maybe they would kind of do something similar to like the Ultimate Fighter, where you have 2 rounds, but if it's a tie, it goes to a third. So if you win those first 2 rounds, you don't have to worry about a third. And even do that in the semifinal too. So you could either be fighting 6 rounds, or you can be fighting most 4 rounds, and do it like that. But I felt that vibe, like certain guys were gaming the system a little bit and fighting careful, smart in the second round after they knew they won. And to me, it hurt the action a little bit. Not so much in some fights, but in other fights, it felt like that. And maybe that's what changed that element. Go to a tiebreaker round instead of just giving the first round to somebody. Because some people, I also don't like that, because just some people are known to start slow, you know, and you can't change that. That doesn't mean they're bad fighters. There's some people like that. So I don't like that element of it.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, and there were definitely some logistical problems in the way of them doing it in that fashion. From what I understand, it's the athletic commission that won't allow a fighter to have more than 5 rounds in a single night. So
Okay.
they couldn't be scheduled for 2-3 round fights, and I get that, but
Yeah.
I say spread it out. I say have have some non-tournament fights, to fill up the card if you need it, but to have the quarterfinals and the semifinals on different nights, because when we're trying to determine the best fighter, those things, this is one of those problems with at least that same night Grand Prix format, where you have guys get through because, hey, I didn't get injured in the fight before, or I didn't get tired, or my game plan was a little different. Like, I want to see guys competing at the absolute best that they are.
Yeah.
And if that means that, hey, we're gonna take these quarterfinals and we're gonna have them here, and then in 2 months we're gonna have the semifinals, and it stretches out the season, I'm totally fine with that, because it's hard for me to believe that. I'm trying to think. Is one fight in particular, one of the lightweight fights that was in the quarterfinals, where, oh man, I want to say it was was it Rob Watley? I want to say when Rob Watley fought Chris Wade, if I'm not mistaken on that one, where it looked like he's getting momentum toward the end of their fight. Now somebody kill me in the comments if I'm mistaking the fighters, but I know there was
down late and it felt like something was happening. Yeah, momentum.
Right. So the way that fight was going, I have a hard time believing that he would not have won a 3rd round. And then you have a different tournament. You have different results for that tournament. I want to see guys fight the way they normally fight, and see who the way they normally fight, the way they normally train, the way they normally game plan. I want to see how that intersects, and how the brackets break down from that point. So that would be my only thing. But once again, I did appreciate that they didn't try to match up certain names to get those that marquee name in the finals, because you saw, the aforementioned Brooks fell off. I mean, Vinny Magalhaes and Sean O'Connell, probably the best result you could want at 205. But hey, those guys earned it, man. They went in there and earned it, and they weren't given any gimme matches at any point during that tournament. So much respect to PFL, man. They put on a good show, and I love that Thursday. Well, now in the playoffs they're doing the Saturday night thing, but how those fights are coming on Thursdays, just that midweek beatdown. Oh, that's a beautiful thing. That is a beautiful thing, man.
And to add to your point, I mean, like, why it's great that they probably should spread it out is, one, like, Thiago Tavares got into the semifinals despite he lost, I believe, which is unfortunate for the guy he replaced. And then it's not bad to bring it up. Like, I get the selling point of the classic tournament one night kind of thing, but these guys in the season had to fight like 6 weeks apart, and they had a problem with it. So just do the quarterfinals, and 6 weeks later the semifinals. And more times than not, when I've talked to the fighters on the roster, they want to fight as often as possible anyway. And also, plainly, this is the most money most of these guys have ever made, even if they're losing. For the quarterfinalists, they get $50,000 if they lost. In the semifinals, if they lost, they get $100,000. The runner-up $200,000. So, this is some of the biggest purses they've ever got in their career one night. So at least give them the chance to be as healthy as possible and to be their best, just like you're saying. Because even if they lose in the finals, $100,000 is huge money for a lot of these guys. Because they're either veterans who couldn't hang on with the bigger companies, or they're young up and comers, and they need the money. So I totally agree with you on that.
Yeah, man. So I do have our producer Jay. He's thrown a question to me, but I want to table that for just a second because that's going to tie us in to the results of our poll, which somehow my dumb ass forgets every week. But I'm not forgetting this week.
I didn't even know we had polls. Oh my god!
Yeah. Oh, you gotta jump on that chat discussion and Slack, my brother. You gotta jump on that. All right, so here we go. Let me get this question off before I start goofing off and forget. All right, so any thoughts on Islam Mammadov purported sickness at PFL 9 after he won the quarters, taking him out of the semis versus Rashid Magomedov? And I definitely want to address this. I mean, this is what we're talking about with the injuries and stuff that happen on the same day Grand Prix type format. You talking about a guy who just got beat in the head for a couple of rounds and then he's in the back and he's throwing up. Yeah. That, I mean, I'm no doctor, and granted I wasn't backstage with him to see him throw up, but his manager confirmed to me that he was throwing up, and then Ray Safo gave confirmation after the event in the post-fight scrum that dude was back there throwing up. That sounds like concussion to me.
Wow. Yeah.
You get hit in the head hard enough, you get sick to the stomach, you get nauseous, you might throw up, and that's just not a good look. I mean, granted, this is mixed martial arts. This isn't a tickling competition. So, yeah, people are going to get hurt. People are going to get concussed. But you don't want to concuss the guy to the point where he's throwing up and then say, hey, go back out there and fight. And then how shitty is that for him to won his fight? Like, he won his fight. He beat Thiago Tavares, beat him fair square. And now he's disqualified from getting that $1 million prize because – hey, he's throwing up in the back. I mean, that really, really sucks. Yep. So that's another reason why I don't have these different stages of the fights or stages of the tournament, I mean, on the same night. Because otherwise, I say have the whole tournament in the same night.
Yeah.
Or have the stages broken up into different nights, because too many things like this can happen, and too many guys who have earned it through competition have been disqualified due to the other reasons. So,
or even, what if they would like introduce maybe a next day, like the semifinals of the next day? Something. Even that may be an option. They want to keep it together and you have a lot of content, but yeah, it could use some adjustments.
Yeah. All right, so I got another PFL one, so we'll just go ahead and keep that theme for the time being. What did you think about PFL having Sean O'Connell play-by-play his entire fight after he won it? I didn't know he did that.
Yeah, me neither. How can he play after he won? Like on the website or something?
Well, I know on the scrum, at the scrum, he was asked, I can't remember this guy's name. He was actually standing right beside me at the scrum, and he asked Sean, like, how would you have commentated this? At least his first fight, I believe he asked for his opinion on, and he gave a quick assessment, and he switched into broadcast mode real perfectly. All right, so Jay is just getting word to me that they had him do it in the cage in his post-fight interview with Eve. They played the whole thing back. Okay, so the audio in the arena was so trash, was so incredibly trash. I couldn't understand a single word from any of the post-fight interviews. I had no idea what it was. It just sounded like mumbling on the microphone. And then every time they will read the results, and I'm trying to type out the results for the Sherdog Twitter. Yeah, I'm like, none of the media guys, we had any idea what was said. We were like, what did you get the time? Nobody knew. So I guess oh well, I guess I messed that up. All right. So let's get back to our poll. So let me run back up here to the poll. And the poll question this week is: are you disappointed that Eddie Alvarez signed with one championship? So far the results are we have 66% saying no, and we have the other third saying yes. And that brings us right into our next question from Europe One. He says, "Hello, benevolent, non-violent overlords." Well, he doesn't know us. We're crazy. It seems that we're entering an era where it's more common and prevalent for UFC fighters to jump ship to other organizations. How do you think this trend will evolve? Will it abate or escalate? And what will be its long-term consequences for the UFC and the MMA landscape as a whole? Damn you, Europe One. That is a beautiful question. And I love the way you use those SAT words. That was great, because you don't hear a lot of people say abate in regular conversation.
Benevolent would be a great Scrabble word. I get you a lot of points.
And this man, Europe One, you're the real MVP for that.
See, in Europe, they're much smarter than us, I think. That's what it is.
Yeah. Europe is dope, man. Europe is a beautiful place. That's where I honeymooned. Fantastic. Love Italy. Italy is the spot. All right. So now this ties directly into our poll, obviously, with Eddie Alvarez now being a part of the roster for ONE Championship. And wow, it took me a lot of effort to not say ONE FC. But
he said it, I saw. He said it in his video on Twitter.
Hey, you can't blame him, man. ONE Championship just don't have the same flow.
No, nope.
It's always going to be ONE FC in my heart. But I am very pleasantly surprised by the people who voted on the forum page about this, because I would not expect people from the forum to be as forgiving and as kind, because quite frankly, as fans, it is perfectly okay to be disappointed by Eddie Alvarez going to ONE Championship, because there are so many beautiful matchups for him in the UFC. I just saw in one of the Ask Ant columns a couple of weeks back, I think somebody was asking me about the possibility of him being the first to welcome Jose Aldo to 155. Sign me the hell up. Sign me up. Like, we still never saw a lot of good matchups with him. And even if you went back to Bellator, you telling me you wouldn't want to see him and Chandler 3?
Yes.
You know, there's so many good matchups for him outside of ONE FC. But hey, at the same time, Eddie Alvarez getting paid, man. He's getting paid. And at the end of the day, that's what it is. The prize fighting, man. Get that prize. Get that bag. Like, that's the most important thing. If you are fighting for money, is the money. You know, and as much as we want to, we as fans, we want to see a lot of different things. I know you do, Jason. I certainly do myself. But I want to see Eddie Alvarez get paid. You know, I said it last week. I'll scream it from the top of a mountain. Eddie Alvarez is one of the best lightweights to ever do it. He is one of the best guys to ever fight at 155 pounds. This man deserves whatever stack of money is going to fall in his lap. And if he's going to knock out tomato cans in the latter stages of his career to get that bag, please, by all means, my man, get that bag. Like that. Just get it. Obviously, man, you stick loyal to the UFC. They may not stick loyal to you. We've seen that we saw it now. Granted, Joanna's back in her. She's back in her flyweight title fight, but hey, they yanked her from that in a heartbeat without even letting her know when it got convenient. So being a company man is not the route to go. A lot of times, you got to be out there for yourself. Sometimes you gotta take care of yourself. Eddie Alvarez, get that money, my man. And yes, I'll watch you against Shinya Aoki Part 3.
I mean, to go to Europe's question, I mean, this has been a slowly building wave anyway. And honestly, I think it's the best thing for the sport. I mean, it's good for us as journalists if more promotions grow and get bigger and get some stars and develop, because we have more things to cover and we have more things for, people to want to read and hear from our stuff. But it's the best thing for the sport. I mean, Bellator and free agency, like, we didn't know at the time, but like the Reebok deal and USADA was slowly going to help all the other promotions, because a lot of fighters had that, it's pushed them out. And then now you have UFC doing things like their anti-meritocracy way of matchmaking and stuff like that. So, it's great to see Bellator come up. ONE Championship is coming up. It's a good thing. And I think it will continue. I'm waiting, and I think it'll happen sooner or later. I'm waiting for that top star. Like, we've got a lot of guys that are, still good, but more towards the end, like a Benson or an Eddie Alvarez, or like a Bader and Musashi, who are still pretty good, but they're not the top 5, but they're pretty close. I want to see like that John Jones or that Ortega, Holloway, that they are in their prime, they're the best, and they jump ship. You know, like the LeBron going to the Lakers or the Heat. You know, that will be the next evolution, and it's gonna happen. I think sooner or later, one of these guys, they're gonna get offered like $1 million a fight because they're just that good, and they're gonna leave, and then it's gonna really be interesting. And especially if a union ever happened, fighters will be spread even further across the platforms, but. Yeah, it's going to happen just more, and I'm excited about it. It's fun. It gives us as journalists more to cover instead of just being the UFC and hoping other stars develop somewhere and then just leave to the UFC anyway. Great fighters are everywhere. Great fights are much more all over the place. And Fight Night Globals or KSW, ACB. So, yeah, it's just the way every other sport, and now it's coming to MMA.
And you know, and this is this question is such a rich thing, and so is this Eddie Alvarez signing for so many different reasons that are not just laying on the surface. So ONE FC is now, you know, broadcast through their streaming app and makes all the fights available for free. They have this strong foothold on the Asian market. And they are making some serious moves. There was an article on Bloody Elbow released, I think yesterday, about their financials. I'm not going to pretend like I understand a lot of that stuff, but I just wanted to mention it because it is a good article and it's definitely worth a read. So check that out. But you see, there's a lot of big money involved with this promotion. There's a lot of big things happening. We just had Canelo Alvarez sign his massive deal with DAZN for 11 fights. Essentially, what's happening right now are stars are leaving the traditional pay-per-view model.
Yep.
And Eddie Alvarez is one of those guys. Remember, pay-per-view was a huge thing with his original contract dispute with between Bellator and the UFC. So he was a contract. He had a contract that was heavy on the incentives as far as pay-per-view went, as far as his placement on the cards and whatnot. There are a lot of different things that are happening. This Eddie Alvarez deal is just a sliver of what's to come. I mean, right now we're at a very, very tricky point in combat sports. Like the paradigm is shifting as we speak. We may not be able to see it because we're in the middle of it, but I guarantee you 10, 15 years from now, we're going to look back on today. We're going to look back on Eddie Alvarez signing, Canelo and DAZN. We're going to look at these things as these watershed moments as far as the momentum of combat sports changing. And I think that's one thing that this Eddie Alvarez signing represents. Now, granted, it is very likely that the best years in his career are behind him, but he's still one of the greatest lightweights to do it. He's still a huge name. He's still somebody that can put butts in seats. And the UFC would, if they could afford him, not that they could, if they were willing to pay him. We want to, let me rephrase that.
We all know they can afford him.
We know they can afford him. We know they could. They just choose not to, I guess. Yeah. Or if he were in Bellator, like the matchups are just so rife. There's so many things get busted in the seats. But hey, these guys won out. ONE FC won out. Yep. You know what I'm looking forward to? I'm looking forward to the offer that they make Ben Henderson.
Yep.
You know, because that is a fight I've been wanting to see for a very long time, since their WEC and Bellator title reigns kind of overlapped. And when we were all thinking about these cross promotional fights, that was a matchup I really, really wanted to see, and we just might see it. So keep your fingers crossed. But this is a trend that will continue. I don't see it not changing. If more money is getting pumped into these streaming services, and you eliminate this need to be the pay-per-view headliner or these incentive laden contracts, you get that guaranteed money, man. Take that guaranteed money. Don't dick around with the what ifs.
I tell you, how quickly in the last month and a half has DAZN come along to the fight sports, combat sports fan base? Like, at first, everybody was like, what the F is DAZN? I don't like how do you say that? What is that thing? But in a short amount of time, they are really developing themselves into a worthwhile source for combat sports and a worthwhile purchase, because first they got the deal with Eddie Hearn, one of the biggest promoters in boxing, who has Anthony Joshua. They never have Anthony Joshua on their network. Then they got Bellator. and they're going to have a lot of Grand Prix fights for the welterweight Grand Prix. So you got Bellator in there now. Now cutting this deal with Canelo, the most profitable fighter in the sport right now, and Golden Boy, because it's not just only Canelo turning him into the richest athlete in all of sports over Giancarlo Stanton. You know, it's with Golden Boy too. So Golden Boy is supposed to put on, I think, like 10 big fights as a contract or whatever the wordage is for that. So you're going to have a lot of good Golden Boy fighters on there too. So now you got Golden Boy, you got Eddie Hearn's fighters, you got Bellator. I mean, if they would even make a deal with like one championship, all of a sudden, like, damn, man, I can get a lot of really good Combat Sports content for $10. And I love that the shift in strategies by promotions is to bang for your buck and value for your customer instead of, well, this shit is going to cost $80. Hopefully you get it. Don't miss it. You know, like now you can go see a Canelo fight for $10. That's what's so good about like WWE Network. You can watch all these damn pay-per-views for $10, so which is great if you're a fan. So if you're a fight sports fan and a fan of these promotions, Canelo for $10, it's fucking awesome. Like it's and all the other content you can get with it. So I'm love that there's a shift towards these things in these apps. And as a person that cut the cord, you know, not so long ago, I love it. And it's great. And it's great to see. And it's great for fight fans because that's the problem. That's why UFC, MMA, and boxing became kind of niche sports in the last. But for at least boxing the last 30 years, it got too fucking expensive. You know, we got regular people like at big arenas got priced out. Now we're getting priced back in, and it's I love it. It's amazing.
Yeah, and you know, one underrated aspect to all of this is that we're seeing these combat sports get intertwined more so than ever. Mm-hmm. So I definitely got to give a shout out to Luke Thomas, who has been preaching this one, and I'm fully support him on that. Besides the fact he's a DMV legend. So, you know, DC represent. But anyway, before I jump off that soapbox, get back to what I'm supposed to be doing here. But yeah, like you're seeing now all these combat sports are becoming intertwined. So the better Bellator does on DAZN, hey, Combate is going to do better because you got eyeballs on that service. The better Matchroom does, the better Bellator does. So now you've got to have Matchroom and Golden Boy and Bellator. You got to have these companies essentially working together in some way, shape, or form. Even if they infight about who's going to be number one on this and that, that shit don't matter. Yeah. If you get people watching, you get people subscribing, that means more money gets pumped into their specific companies. So yes, let's do it. So you're going to have, I think this is going to open up the doors for a lot of cool things. Bellator in particular has kind of been on the cutting edge of that, at least in comparison to the UFC. Like they've been willing to open the doors more. And like, for instance, Heather Hardy being part of the promotion and her during her boxing career, and MVP being allowed to box as well. So you're going to see more legitimate cross sports, cross promotions. And I think that's a good thing for everybody in the long run. So and we see the UFC attempting this with Fight Pass. Granted, they've been more about, you know, just other MMA properties. And of course, they have Eddie Bravo Invitational in there as well. Mm-hmm. But, you know, you put Zuffa Boxing on Fight Pass, you're looking at the same sort of thing. Yeah. Zuffa Boxing has some decent fighters. You're looking at essentially the same thing. Like this is a really cool thing. ESPN Plus having the UFC and having Top Rank is going to be a big deal. So these companies are going to have to stop fighting each other all the damn time, and they might actually have to cooperate with one another in order for everyone to succeed. And I think that's just going to be great for us fans that we have all this going on. I'll take it. But you know what? While we're talking about how cool DAZN is, besides that trash ass name, we gotta flame DAZN on this one. I'm gonna flame them on this one. So Purple Storm asks, "Oh boy, what are your thoughts on the DAZN app? If they add Ryzen, I'll check it out." And that's a good question. But there was another one that's asked me, and you know what? Damn it, I can't even find where it is. But the guy asked me about the card from Israel, because that was a good question. That's good for DAZN. So my bad, Purple Storm, got you mixed up in this negativity I'm about to throw out. But please explain to me why one Bellator event with Patricio Pitbull and Emmanuel Sanchez is going to be tape delayed.
Next one, because it's in Israel. Yeah,
but tape delayed, my guy. Tape delayed. Like, well, I mean, I get it. If it's streaming, it's streaming, bro. If it's streaming, put it on at 4 a.m. I don't give a damn. If I'm up, I'll be up. If not, I'll watch it when I wake up. No big deal. But what? So you mean to tell me in 2018, you mofos is still tape delaying? That's what's up.
You know why? It's money, because they have these partnerships with Paramount, and in the end, that is a Paramount production. Paramount's probably cameraman and everything, and all their equipment is going to be there in Israel producing it, so they deserve to get it on a time that befits them. And now, they can't watch it live because that'd be fucked up to Israel at 2 o'clock in the morning MMA. But they're gonna have to do a tape delay here. I completely agree with you. And you know what? If this was a DAZN exclusive, that's probably what would happen. It would be aired streamed live at the time and then probably replayed later. But that's TV money, and the networks are gonna get what they want. So that's kind of what they're gonna do. And it's a pain in the ass, but I mean, it's it's the nature of it. I just wish maybe they would do the timing so similar to what UFC does and what even the NFL does in England. Just play it during the day. Just set it up so it's maybe a little later in Israel, but it's at 2 o'clock here or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I'd rather that than tape delay at the normal time. That is just freaking silly.
Yeah, I mean, like the thing is, if you're concerned about people being up to watch it, and you're do you really think that you stream it at 3 a.m? Do you think Paramount is going to be hurting about that? Like the ratings? I mean, which Bellator has had some pretty terrible ratings on Paramount Network anyway. So you mean to tell me this is gonna be the straw that broke the camel's back? Man, get the hell out of here with that, man. That tape delay is trash. Live sports need to be live. Like, what type of nonsense is that? Like, this is social media age, man. When you say tape delay, to me that says, okay, this ain't important. That's all that means to me. It ain't important. If you say, hey, it's going to be live at this time and I can't make that time, so be it.
Yeah.
But you can't tell me you didn't tape delay live sports and now I gotta pretend like it's important. Fuck out of here with that. Like, that's so just insufferable garbage. I can't even.
Would you say hot trash?
Oh, it is super trash. It is super trash. And this is
infinity trash.
It is Infinity War level trash. I'm telling you, this is Thanos trash right here. Like I'm now, and this is a man who is trash on so many levels. As you commented on my Twitter Saturday night, my dumb ass forgot my laptop charger at Long Beach Arena, and my wife had to come drive over from West LA to give me the charger so I can actually do my job. So I'm super trash for that. Me, as the epitome of super trash, says tape delay is super trash.
Like they call the snap in Infinity War the snapping. Would you call it the trashing?
The trashing. I kind of like that. The trashing. I kind of like that. That sounds like a really bad M. Night Shyamalan movie.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So all right.
Glass is coming out soon.
No, Glass is gonna be dope. Oh, Glass is gonna be off the chain. Well, I can't wait. I can't wait for Glass. But you know what? We're gonna have to do like a Sherdog nerd podcast or something. Just to counteract all this foolishness that we about to get into, because we still got fight
X-Men UFC fighter or MMA fighter thing. We never got to finish.
We're definitely gonna do that. I got a tweet. Shane Shooter, his name is on Twitter. He hit me up with some suggestions. Shout out to my guy Shane. Good work on that one. We'll talk, my brother. We'll talk. All right, so let's get on to some more questions. All right, we got another PFL one. Will Jake Shields get revenge on Ray Cooper the third this weekend, or can Cooper shut K1 Shields down?
I don't see it. Like, and I got to interview both of them after that fight, going into their second fights, and it's just, I just think Jake Shields is too past his best years, and he was always a guy that he was never a great striker, very one-trick pony, but his trick was fantastic. He was one of the better grapplers in the sport for like 15 years plus. But I just, he's too far in his age, and he just doesn't have the speed, because Ray Cooper is a young guy, super athletic, strong, fast. Like, he just doesn't have the speed to not get hit and to get him down. Even when he's grappling on him, I don't know if he's strong enough. Like, it's impressive, because Cooper just trains with his father, though, as a fighter, and his brothers. Like, when he told me that in the interview, my mind was blown because they just trained in a garage that the father built for him. He's not in a major camp, anything like that, and he just completely obliterated Jake Shields and then his next opponent. So it would be interesting. It'd be a nice story, especially because Jake told me that, you know, whenever he loses, it probably will likely be the last fight of his career, which more people should watch that because it really is a great career, and for it to be ending is a moment to celebrate and revere him. But yeah, I think his career is going to be in. I just don't see it. I mean, Ray Cooper is on fire right now. I think he's one of their rising stars, so I'd be very surprised.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, man. I don't see Jake Shields exacting his revenge. Ray Cooper is looking like a monster of a human being, and I just don't see that changing. I don't see what he can do differently. Yeah, it's just like Jake Shields. It's time for all things to come to an end. Jake Shields has been doing it on the highest levels for a very, very long time now. You know, you look at, you know, when we talked earlier about Chill, you know, he's one of those guys that has those all-time great opponents lists.
And he's got a lot of all-time wins too.
Right. And he won the large majority of those fights against some of those top names. So all respect in the world to Jake Shields and everything he's been able to accomplish in his career. But sometimes, man, it just ain't your night. And against a young savage like Ray Cooper, it ain't your night. Like, you know, that's just kind of what it is. So I guess we can get into one of the sillier questions for our chat here. So, what is your favorite horror movie?
Oh, okay. You know, it's I won't go with the Tank Girl and Green Lantern joke I gave in the Slack. I mean, they've been used. Those are horrifying horror movies in their own way. If you haven't seen Tank Girl, don't see it. You're gonna waste your life like I did. But anyway, I mean, growing up in my family, it really was, and it's perfect timing too. It was Halloween. You know, Michael Myers was the shit. Like we'd like Friday the 13th, and we'd like Nightmare on Elm Street classics, but Michael Myers was our guy, and it's perfect time because the new one's coming out, which I would like to see. The reviews are great and stuff like that. But yeah, for me, it was Halloween. Just like because there was mystery around him. The dude didn't talk. He was like this unstoppable machine. There wasn't any supernatural elements. It was just crazy maniac killer. Good acting. The theme is a freaking classic theme. I will throw it on at work at Halloween time just to be stupid. You know, Halloween for me all day, every day, twice on Sunday.
You know, that's not a bad choice right there. I'm kind of torn. I'm thinking The Shining might be my go-to. Shining is a dope movie. And the thing is, I'm not a big fan of supernatural stuff in movies.
Okay.
The supernatural stuff, I'm with you. I want the manic killer.
Yeah.
I want like the things that seem like they're in the realm of reality.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so a dream demon don't do it for me. Sorry, Freddie. Sorry, Freddie, you're trash. Okay.
No disrespect to Part 3 Dream Warriors. That was kind of cool, but you know.
yeah, but he got his ass whooped in the real world, which makes that movie cool. so like I think as far as the horror movies go, man, The Shining was just such a good blend of like terror and like not showing you everything, but letting your mind kind of wander. And the acting was superb, which is not something that you find in a lot of horror movies. Is good acting. So, I mean, Jack Nicholson being crazy, sign me up for that all day. But I think if we're gonna go, I'm tempted to throw Saw, the first Saw, on that list as well. The first Saw was a masterpiece. That was incredible. Of course, that's the kind of Seven on steroids. Seven it being another classic movie. Yeah. But Saw, man, that first Saw was so dope. And then of course
I won. It was like,
exactly.
Did this happen? It's over. What?
He won, and it was so intelligent and so well thought out. And then when you rewatch it, it's like, oh man, I could see this. You could see all those little elements coming together. And of course, the franchise did its best to just completely unravel everything possibly good about it with a boatload. Oh, just the trashing of all trashings. Like that is the garbage pail of cinema when you're watching the Saw movies. Beyond the first one, even the second one was okay. Yeah, but man, 2 was all right.
Oh god.
Yeah, 3 Beyond is some of the worst shit in the world. And like I did watch like all of them, but that's only to see like how crazy it was gonna get. I actually just watched the last one on Hulu the other day, and it was Jigsaw. It actually wasn't as bad as 3 and 4, but still pretty shitty.
But I got another one. I got one for you, and it's supernatural, but it's old school from that Halloween Freddy Krueger Poltergeist.
Ooh.
Because that was good. That little girl was creepy as all hell, and when she's in the TV, come on. In our age, when we're watching, that's some scary shit. And that little girl,
man, that terrified the hell out of me when I saw that scene when I was like 7. That terrified the hell out of me. Yes. All right, so Jay says, sign me up for Hellraiser, the perfect mix of creepy, bloody demons and all that. So
Hellraiser's good, man.
Is that the one with the dude with the Pinhead, all the needles in his face?
Yeah.
Man, that guy's a clown, man. Come on, Jay. Do better, Jay. Do better, Jay. Yeah. Pinhead, that's his name?
Yeah.
Man, I can't take nobody seriously named Pinhead. Pinhead, you trash. Come see me, Pinhead.
Level of like Leprechaun for me. I'm sorry.
Leprechaun.
It's Leprechaun.
Oh, Leprechaun. Leprechaun was super duper trash. Oh my God.
Jennifer Aniston was in Leprechaun one. Can you believe that?
Yeah, man, trash. I mean, hey, we all started somewhere.
Yeah.
And someone heard some of my first podcasts. They were like, "Man, this dude is super garbage." Now I've elevated myself to medium garbage, so I'll take it. Yeah, man. I guess. I mean, if you want to take another question, we can. But
I don't got any interview today. I'm good.
Oh, cool. All right, cool. So I do want to end it on an MMA note, only because I know we're going to get some epic rants out of this, and I probably will still address this in the Ask Ant column because why not? So I'm getting asked, and I'm not even going to go to one of the specific questions. And shout out to everybody who left questions for us on the forum today. Appreciate your time. Thanks. But we got to say something about this. Not Connor. Khabib versus Floyd Mayweather.
No, talk about horror movie. Oh my
God. Yeah, actually, that's a perfect segue. What a freak show of foolishness. Knock this shit all the way the fuck off. Okay, we don't need that. All right, we don't need Khabib versus Floyd. And the funny thing is, people are actually trying to give like their serious takes on this.
Yeah, Michael Bisping got into it today. I was like, oh, come on, Bisping.
Come on, Count. You're better than that, Count.
Yeah, stop.
You're better than that. The Count is so much better than that. I love Michael Bisping. Come on, brother. Come on, do better. Do better, brother. Do better.
Please.
Yeah, man. I'm sorry, man. We just, first of all, okay, if this were to happen, if you expect anything other than Floyd Mayweather completely washing Khabib in every way, shape, or form, you are an idiot. Like there's no other possible outcome. The only success that Khabib had striking on Conor was because his wrestling was such a threat. If Floyd Mayweather is not concerned about a takedown, do you think that rogue overhand right is that Khabib almost fell down trying to throw? Do you think that's going to touch Floyd? Come on now, like.
This is the boneheads. These are the bonehead MMA fans that make boxing fans and other fans like, what are they talking about? Like when they say this crazy stuff, like no, guys, just no, stop, please. You make us look terrible. Stop it.
Yeah, just super trash. And I guess on that I guess we'll end it on that note of negativity. You know what? No, we'll end it on another positive note here. Okay. And this is another silly question. Somebody asked me who my favorite Ninja Turtle was. I guess maybe because Tony Ferguson was talking about Ninja Turtles at 229. I'll go with Donatello. Donatello's the guy. I like the intelligence. The bow staff is a very practical weapon. Maintain distance. I like to stay further away from my opponents if I don't have to be close.
Yes.
I'll take Donatello.
My girlfriend will love that because she likes Donatello because of the purple. But I'm always a fan because I am a little bit myself of just crotchety bastards. And I just love Raphael. I mean, I loved Red anyway, but he's a real cranky bastard. Like I like Wolverine because he's a cranky bastard. I liked Oscar the Grouch because he's a cranky bastard. I just like cranky bastards, and Raphael was just a cranky bastard, even in every iteration of him in any kind of movie. And I just liked him because he just had such a bad attitude. Fun guy.
So you like the cranky bastard as like a preschooler watching Sesame Street?
Yes, I did. I really enjoyed his bad attitude.
Wow. You're man, I tell you, your girl is a very patient woman. And I shouldn't even say nothing because my wife, when she watching right now, she probably going to chat. She going to type on the live chat like you, yeah, like you know how patient I am, like yeah.
And I feel bad for him, man. He lived in a trash can. I'd be cranky too. Come on, yeah. Jeez.
I mean, hey, you know that trash can in LA, man, that'll be like $2,000 a month. So, yeah. And one day Oscar the Grouch is paying some premium rates for rental over there. But all right, So I guess that'll wrap it up. So definitely, yeah, on a more positive note. So shout out to the homie Jay for producing, making sure these questions are on point and getting everything together in the form. Appreciate your help as always, my brother. Jason, always a pleasure. Where can the folks find you?
As always, as it is here, that is the Twitter name, Cheap Seats Chat. You can find me on Twitter or on Instagram. You can find me at Jericho Vendetta. Check out my newest stuff on Sherdog. I actually got to do a news piece regarding PFL. The 2018 championships tickets are on sale now. And I have a new article up with Chris the Future Brown, a fighter from Jackson Wink MMA, who John Winklejohn, who is his lead coach, calls him the future of the gym. He's mentored by John Jones, who's gone to all his fights. Diego Sanchez, he calls a big brother. So that's an interesting story to look out for. And I got some other stuff. I got Lewis Taylor from PFL 10 this week coming up. And also Dennis Bayuka from Bellator, who also fights in Law MMA. I just interviewed him yesterday. I got a story on him coming out soon. So look for those on Sherdog.com.
Oh, that's what's up, man. So the good folks out there can find me at Ant Walker MMA on Twitter and Instagram. That's Ant Walker MMA. You can see that, right there at the bottom of the screen. And I have the Ask Ant column that should be out tomorrow noonish, maybe. Depends on how fast I write it when I get home. And so it just depends on how focused I am when I get in the house. That's all that matters on that. And then we got PFL, but I'm not going to do a post-fight column on that. But for next week's UFC, I'll be doing another edition of The Good, Bad, and Ugly. And I think maybe I'll have some random thought and just decide to do an unauthorized op-ed. You never know, man. I just do things.
Or just come and see us again this time next week.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, that would be a good idea. So, you can find us on the Sherdog.com YouTube page. Yes. Thursdays at which we're on East Coast time, right? Yeah. So at 8 p.m. Eastern
or 5 p.m. PST, whatever works for you. What would that be? 6 or 7 CST?
Yeah, something like that, man. Y'all do the math. Just tune in. Just watch it later too if you missed the live chat. But get those questions in. You can hit us up on Twitter. You can hit up when the forum page is available for next week. I'll let y'all know via Twitter. But in the meantime, use the Twitter, man. Hit us up. And appreciate your time. Shout outs to everybody out there dropping those questions. And we'll get at you next week. So for Jason Burgos, I'm Anthony Walker. Stay tuned. Stay sexy. Peace.